Welcome back to segment 3. We're looking at reading and viewing, and we're focusing on students' writing, and we're looking a bit more closely at the texts. Let's have a look at the importance of vocabulary when you are reading, as well as the use of fact and opinion, which we've been talking about already. Remember, there's a 3-step approach to reading. We've talked about step 1, which is the pre-reading step. This text is called Me, Myself and I. That doesn't really give us a lot to look at for our pre-reading. It could be anything. So let's move on to step 2. Step 2 is a close reading of the text, which is supported by questions and the development of various strategies. We're going to be looking here at a text written again by a student called Niall, and we're just looking at the opening paragraph. To describe the bustling streets of Mumbai as noisy or crowded would be an understatement. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, for one who grew up in suburban Johannesburg, there's no suitable word in English, Latin or Hindi to describe the environment of an Indian city. 1/6 of the world's population inhabits this subcontinent, and it feels as though every one of them is in the same market with me. So our first step is close reading of this text. So we need to look at that first paragraph again. Let's just look at some factual questions. In which city is the writer? He's in Mumbai. Great. Factual answer. Now, let's just move to general knowledge. In which country is Mumbai? If you look back at the paragraph and you go down, scan now, look for specific information. You're looking for the country. Any sign? Yes, there it is. So Mumbai is an Indian city, therefore it must be in India. Next question. On which continent is India? Again, scan the paragraph, and we see that there's really not a lot of help. The word continent is there. So we're told that India is subcontinent, is part of a bigger continent. You can be asked this kind of question. It's general knowledge, but English requires you to have a good general knowledge. So you need to know that India is part of Asia. So you need to know that. Back to the paragraph. Let's look for another fact. In which city did the writer grow up? Have a look. Scan down the paragraph. Remember, scanning, you're looking for a specific piece of information. And you find, for one who grew up in suburban Johannesburg. And then last factual question, looking at the paragraph, how many people live in India according to this writer? How many people live in India? Factual, 1/6 of the world's population. Right, we've started by looking for the facts within the paragraph. Now let's go back and take another look. Begin at the beginning. To describe the bustling streets of Mumbai as noisy or crowded would be an understatement. Obviously, to understand the paragraph better, we need to look at the vocabulary. And this is really important, that every time you read, you develop your vocabulary. I've underlined 2 words there, bustling and understatement. So what does bustling mean? Bustling is when you're moving in a very active way because you're very busy. So it's determined and active and moving quickly, very busy. But let's look at that word understatement. What is an understatement? It's a figure of speech, and that figure of speech means instead of stating the fact as it is, you make it sound less important or less serious than it actually is. So let's say you cut yourself really, really badly, and you say, I've got a slight scratch. That is an understatement, because a scratch is just a little thing, but you've cut yourself badly. So when you understate, instead of stating the truth as it is, you come underneath and you make it sound less serious and less important. It's an important figure of speech, you need to know it. Back to the passage, he says there that the streets are noisy and crowded, but he says that's an understatement. In other words, they are very, very noisy and very, very, very crowded. Look at the next sentence. Again, I've underlined words that might be a problem. If you don't understand the words in a text, you cannot understand the text as a whole. The first word is suburban. This is the area, but not close to the center of a city. The area further away from the center. Latin and Hindi, let's take a guess. A very important reading skill is guessing a word from its context. So if we guess, looking at the passage, we've got English, Latin, and Hindi. Well, we know that English is a language, so therefore we guess that Latin and Hindi are also languages. So what we've looked at in this segment is a close reading. We've looked at factual questions, then we've started looking at opinion, bustling and crowded, an opinion, and we've also looked at the importance of vocabulary when you are reading a text. And we're going to continue with reading and viewing in the next segment.